Okay, it's time to do another video. And as you saw by the title, spirituality is not copy and paste. It's not what the church or any other religion would have you believe. Reading scripture and believing mindlessly really what it said there, what is said in that scripture. And you don't question it. Spirituality is a revelation, direct revelation, something that you experience within you. Like I said so many times before, without this revelation, without this direct seeing, whether in your dreams or vision or intuitively or in some kind of art, all you have is simply second-hand information. Someone has somewhere down the past experienced something, and then this got passed on from person to person, from scripture to scripture, usually changed along the way, so that you're only getting a glimpse maybe of what was actually seen. So, for instance, with Jesus, like I said before, he didn't find, like Buddha, he didn't find what he was looking for, this revelation and the direct contact with the divine. Amongst all the top spiritual gurus of the time. So he came to John the Baptist, and John the Baptist baptized him, but he went past John the Baptist. He didn't find it there either, so he went into his own retreat into the desert. There he, like the Buddha, fought with the survival instincts, the animal instincts, which we call, in the church calls the devil. Having mastered these, dropped his ego, dropped the demands of the body for survival, he got three main survival instincts, that is to say, hoarding, reproduction or sex, and power. Once you get rid of all this, something happens, you open up and you see directly what you're meant to see. And this is usually the vision of our divinity and interconnectedness of everything, at the dimension of the eternal, the dimension of the spirit, and the dimension of everyday life. They're not separate, they seamlessly interconnected. The visible and the invisible are one. We just only see the visible part, but we ignore the invisible part. So after his direct seeing experience, Jesus came back to society, came back from the desert and started teaching. Only then. It's the same thing with Buddha. He didn't find any of the information that he was looking for amongst all the best gurus in the forest, and he went his own way, sat under the Bodhi tree for a long time, and then he's like with Christ, with Jesus, he had to fight the demon of the survival instincts, and then dropped his body needs for survival. And he experienced his inner eye opened, and he experienced the vision of his own life beyond lives and our interconnectedness. That the soul is just one, and we are all like branches of the single tree of soul. That it's all just a singularity that is when you look at it, with the physical eyes, it looks separate. But when you look with your intuitive eye and sees the whole, it's all interconnected. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to briefly just talk to you about today, because a lot of information gets passed on when it comes to spirituality, especially mainstream spirituality. And it's just copy and paste, and that's enough. That you read about it, and fine, but have you experienced it? How do you know that it's true? So that is so important, and it's not that difficult to experience. A lot of people actually have big archetypal dreams. They don't realize that they do. You don't realize that you do because you don't understand the language. Soul has its own pictorial language, nature's language, symbolic language, and it speaks in its own symbols, and it will come in your dreams. if you don't understand that language, then the message is going to be meaningless to you. So that's why I wrote my book, especially the Where We Dream the Single Dream, where I go into not all the symbols, but many of the symbols, what they mean. Things like the tree, water, cave, gold, silver, bird, yeah, blue. They all, you could say, words of the language of the soul. So you understand what that means, then you understand what is being communicated to you, yes? So I'll read you a little bit what Peter Kingsley wrote in Catafalque regarding revelation, regarding that it's what Jung has actually said about it. And this is what it says. This is Jung speaking. But the problem with this whole ground narrative, Jung insists, is that it doesn't come anywhere near to explain the real facts. And the real facts are that all those methods and techniques for building ships are not human inventions, but are revelations. Yeah, it's a revelation, it's an intuitive revelation. I've gone into this before. They are a revealed truth or perceived truth which has been thought before man has thought. Before I had that thought, it had already been thought, and I merely happened to perceive it once in time. It has been there since eternity. It's always there, has always lived, and I just happened in a certain moment to perceive it. I've spoken about this. You know, sometimes this is called Akashic Records, sometimes it is called Afterlife, or the world of the spirits, world of the ancestors. All the answers, all the things that you want to know, the answers to that are already there. So all you need to really do is stay with the question long enough and pay attention to your environment, pay attention to your dreams and visions and intuitive hunches, you know, an ad passing on a passing bus, or read the title of a newspaper, or when you're scrolling through Facebook, you know, something might catch your attention and it's going to be there. Yeah. Okay. Before I had a thought that happened, it has been there since eternity. It's always there, has always lived, and I just happened to in a certain moment to perceive it. That's right. But here he is again, pointing everything back to reality of revelation. To that timeless primordial revelation which has existed since eternity. The trouble is, though, that this reality isn't theoretical concept or something to understand with the mind. Exactly. You can't. It's not something that you can read about, or not with your intellect. You have to understand it not with your intellectual mind, but with your intuitive mind. On the contrary, there is only one possible way to approach it, which is when it's directly seen and experienced as a reality. And the direct vision of this pre-existent eternity is the one thing able to save us from drowning in the impossible paradox that even our skills at navigating the waters of the unconscious is itself a skill given to us by the unconscious. Everything that I have done, nearly everything, my books, the essays that I write on social media, the videos that I do for you, I am not doing all this by myself. I try to have, when I'm doing a video, for instance, like I'm doing now, I'm trying to, prepare for it, if you like. I'm thinking, what am I going to talk about? Because I've talked about so many things already. I mean, it's over 100 videos or something, I don't know. Then it's difficult sometimes to think, to come up with a concept that is going to be interesting to you again. And I was going to actually talk about something else this morning. Another article that I wrote, inspired by Joseph Campbell and so on. And then this came to me. Spirituality is not copy and paste, but revelation. So I quickly found this quote from the book that I read recently by Peter Kingsley, Catafalque. And the rest, I don't know where it's going to lead during this video. I don't know. It's simply that I had this quote and this idea that I am going to be talking to you, that it's a revelation, that spirituality is a direct mystic experience. That's what revelation means, you know. I've given you countless examples. Do you remember my time when I was, if you've read the book or if you've been watching the videos for a while, my time in Norway, when I got stuck in Norway and I was taken by this charismatic man who was, from Denmark, and he read these tarot cards. He was a poet and a singer. He looked like James Morrison and so on. Do you remember that? And I kept on hearing the song by TLC, "Don't chase waterfalls, stick to the rivers and lakes that you used to." That was a message to me. Don't worry about what this guy says. Don't be so taken by him. You have your own source of information already within you, your own lakes and rivers, your own water of life, your own intuition. So that's one example. There are countless examples. When you're walking, even you stay with a question and suddenly your ear rings and the answer is there. It might be there might be something else, but might be just downloading from the eternity, or if you like, from the world of the spirit of the whatever you want to call it, the afterlife. Information is being downloaded into you, and you have a suddenly clarity that comes into your mind, and you know the answers. So this is exactly the same when you are when you're inventing something, when you're building something. When Jung is talking about shipbuilding, it's not so much that you're planning the ship. You might, like I said, I was planning to do another video, but suddenly the inspiration came to do this. So same with when you're inventing something. That's the word I'm looking for. Invention. What have we got? Invention. That you might start with one solution, one idea, and then when you're actually doing it, in the process of doing it, something completely different comes, and you have a better answer, better solution to it. Like I've spoken to you about this too. Nikola Tesla's solution to the electric motor. He was looking for a solution he couldn't find, and suddenly just walking, he's just you're staying with the question, but you're not forcing it. It just happens. And he dropped it to his knees. He heard it in his mind, the solution. He drew the solution on the sand. That was it. That's what I mean when I'm talking about this mystery, this direct mystic experience of things. I'm sure you have experienced things like that too. Sometimes you're stuck in traffic or you're driving around, and you're, oh my gosh, I should have listened to my intuition. I should have taken the other road than this, and that's how it works. So spirituality is all about revelation. We were not allowed to have revelation for a very, very long time, for instance, in the West, because the church wanted to have monopoly on revelation. You were not allowed to have direct access to this dimension of the spirit of what we call God, because what's the use of the church? Church was the only one that was meant to mediate between you and that dimension of the spirit of God. So if you don't need that, if you have your own revelations, if you have your own contact, your own direct access to it, so what's the use of the church? You don't need it. So they don't have power. They don't hold power. They don't hold power over you. They don't have power in society. So that's why it was stamped out. And this direct revelation is what I mean by feminine. There's a lot of confusion about what the feminine, what the masculine is. The masculine is your rational mind, the intellect mind, the deductive science. When you finally, when you have done a study and you have deducted all the other solutions, and this one is the only one. But even then, it's not so much the deduction that is actually the science, the rational mind that is giving you the answer, but intuition that is actually working there as well. It suddenly goes, yes, you suddenly get it. That's the solution. Because you've looked at all the others and suddenly bang, that's the one. And the feminine is your intuitive mind. So this is where you directly, this is the oldest form of religion of humanity. So if we look at artifacts, if you look at history, if you look at all the, for instance, cave paintings and especially the figurines from the Neolithic, the goddesses figure, the little figurines, remember one, I've talked about them so many times, especially discovered by Maria Gimbutas in what she called the old Europe, the Ark from Yugoslavia, from Romania, Yugoslavia, Greece, around the Danube valley, and this was what they worshipped. They worshipped the direct access to the divine, and that's why they made these little figurines, and they painted her. And she was a bird, she was a frog, she was a fish. Because fishes move spontaneously in water, or like, for instance, salmons, when they spawn, they swim up the stream to the source. So that's what they mean, you're swimming up the stream to your own inner source within you. It's all symbolic. And for instance, in some cultures, I can't remember, Vincha culture perhaps, they had these figurines of the fish that were standing up, standing in a corner of a temple, and the corner is where the two sides meet, and that's where you have the divinity, the fish, the one that mediates between the two sides, and that's this is what mediates between this visible and invisible dimension. Your right eye looks out, your left eye looks in, and this is what mediates, your inner eye that mediates between them. And that's how you become free. You no longer need what the people are trying, because the society is built around having control over you, complete control over you. That's how it rewards you. If you give in to their control, you're in childhood to society, in other words. They look after you. They will provide you education, they will provide you work, they will provide you the right partner, they will provide you the car that you should be driving, the suburb where you should be living, how much money you should be earning, what drugs you should be taking. Everything is prescribed for you from the moment you're born to the moment you're dead. But when you discover your own connection to this inner dimension, to your own inner self, let's say, to the center that allows you connection to this dimension of the spirit, of the afterlife, if you like, eternity, you no longer need all this. Something else takes over, and you're free, you're autonomous. And that's not allowed in our society. You're a danger then, because you could teach others how to do it. And what's the use of having a society if you don't need it in such a way to tell you what to do, if you have your own access to information that is best for you rather than what is best for the authorities and institutions, whether the church or politicians or education system. You're a danger then. You're a deviant. So I've spoken about this as well. What have we got? 17. Okay. So I'll give you a few examples of revelation. Revelation is, when I'm talking about revelation, it can be revelation on the level of shipbuilding, can be revelation when you're cooking something or gardening, how to do it, or it can be revelation of the archetypal type, the one which we could say the mythological type, where we all share the same dream. That's why my book is titled Where We Dream the Single Dream, where we all share the same story of the soul, recovery of the soul, recovery of the divinity. In other words, a recovery of your own center, intuitive center, through which then you live the rest of your life. As a free, autonomous adult, now you're matured. Before you were still a child to society, now you have matured. Now you are your own human being. Yeah? So I'll give you a few examples of how this revelation works. So, I've given you lots of examples of how fix the car, how to do gardening, how to write, for instance. If you're writing poetry, you stay with the question and then it happens. You get an answer. The archetypal is a little different. It might be a little bit more difficult because you have to have that deeper question. You need to ask a question. So, there's like I, for instance, wrote in my book, where everything I've tried, the work, the money, the position in society didn't really satisfy. And I needed more. I needed to want to know that there's got to be a deeper reason for my life. There's a deeper reason I was born. And suddenly the answers started to come. They come, and they first came to me in dreams. One of the first revelations I remember is this would have been 94. I was still living in Perth, and I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have this figure of light, a woman hovering above me, above my face, just like this. You know, I'm looking at her. She was on the left side. I'm lying in bed, and I couldn't move. I was frozen. Actually, before that, there was another one. I'll tell you that first. So again, I wake up in the morning in the same place in Perth, in the same bed, and now I see this figure of light, this woman standing to me on my right, and I can't move. Again, I'm frozen, and she sits next to me on the bed. And she's got long sleeves, and the sleeve just ever so gently touched my hand. At that moment when the sleeve brushed against my hand, I felt the deepest release. It was like I left the body. My soul left the body, and all the needs and the cravings of the body, and all the tiredness, the hunger, and all that just slipped away. And I started to, the bed started vibrating, and I moved out of my body. I was floating, and then at that moment she started, just before that moment, she was blowing into my ear. She was filling me with spirit. That's filling you with spirit. That's an archetypal experience. Many have experienced this. Blowing, it is either blowing into, usually it's blowing into your nose, but mine was into the ear, into the nose or into the ear. She's pumping you with the spirit. You know, the spirit is actually waking you up. And in that moment, I felt the release. I went up above the bed, and I left the body, and I didn't want to return because the release was like velvet release. And this is what happens at the moment of death. So that's a not so much of a revelation, because the words were not spoken, but that's an example of revelation where, if you understand the symbology, later I understood what was happening. It is a revelation. And another one, like I started to tell you before, was when she was hovering above my face, and I woke up again. I can't move, but I can see her. I can see her face. She's floating in the air like a bee, you know, like a sacred thing. And she looked at me and she says, "Marek, don't lose the spirit, and I will show you everything you're looking for." What she meant by "don't lose the spirit," she meant incubate your energy, incubate your life force, incubate your libido inwards, and then it will grow within you, and that will be your source of intuition, and I will show you everything you're looking for. Yeah, she is that symbol of. She could have been the way I saw her, as white. That's archetypal, floating in the air. You know, that's all archetypal images. You know, full of mythologies, full of these things. And later, of course, she was standing on the banks of a river, and she took my hand and underwater, and we went to show me my future, that revelation. And at that time, she was dressed like a princess, I called her my Egyptian princess, ancient Egyptian princess, but she was Isis. So before that, she could have been. I painted her. That's, you know, with the green dress, that she looked like that. It was white, so you would have been like ancient Greek. This is all mythology. You know, she could have been ancient Greek, in the image of an ancient Greek goddess like Athena. Athena came to the heroes and helped the heroes to achieve what they needed to achieve. And all the heroes in ancient Greek mythology are both mortal and divine. So they live in two dimensions, the visible and invisible. So they are both of this ego, that, you know, where you seeing me and me seeing the reality, and also with the other foot firmly rooted in the invisible of the spirit. You're both. So they like intuition. So it is they balanced, and that's how they get through all the trials that they have to do. And usually they rescue. Who do they rescue? They rescue maybe a princess. You know, there's your feminine, there's your intuition, from a monster. Or like Jason, the fleece, the golden fleece, you know, up on a tree. And when you wore the golden fleece, you were younger. because when you were younger means when you were young, when you were a child, you still had access to intuition. You still flowed like nature. You were spontaneous. So by the way, when you actually incubate your energy, you don't lose it. You don't waste it. You do look younger. You will look younger. Your health will improve. Your clarity will improve, and above all, your intuition will improve. Yeah. So that's very important. So again, spirituality, you know, like I see so many things on Facebook, the quotes, fine, you can quote if you like, but you really need to try to make a connection to that dimension, and then something else is going to happen. That dimension, the dimension of the inner self, of the spirit, will work with you to free you, to mature you, and then, you know, once you have that connection, you can do like I'm doing, write things for people, for other people, help them to get out, and that's really your highest calling. To be of service to community, not just to be of service, you know, of course these things are important, helping animals and nature and you know, talking about your problems and so on, which is important, but the highest calling is for those that have already gotten out and have a connection to the spirit to help others to get out. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.